Canada extends COVID-19 quarantine measures and travel restrictions. Today, the Government of Canada is extending the temporary travel measures restricting entry into Canada by foreign nationals until June 21, 2021. Canada's approach to border management includes entry and flight restriction. Air passengers who depart India or Pakistan to Canada, via an indirect route, must obtain COVID-19 pre-departure test from a third country. Mandatory pre-arrival, on-arrival, and post-arrival testing requirements, mandatory hotel stopover for air travelers, and mandatory 14-day quarantine for travelers. The Government of Canada takes a prudent and responsible approach at the border, by continually monitoring and reviewing available data and scientific evidence to protect the health and safety of Canadians. Today, the Government of Canada is extending the temporary travel measures restricting entry into Canada by foreign nationals until June 21, 2021. To continue managing the elevated risk of imported COVID-19 cases into Canada, the Government of Canada has extended the notice to airmen, NOTAM, restricting all direct commercial and private passenger flights to Canada from India and Pakistan until June 21, 2021 at 23:59 EDT. The government is also extending the requirement for air passengers who depart India or Pakistan to Canada, via an indirect route, to obtain a COVID-19 pre-departure test from a third country before continuing their journey to Canada. Canada's approach to border management includes entry and flight restrictions, mandatory pre-arrival, on-arrival, and post-arrival testing requirements, mandatory hotel stopover for air travelers, and mandatory 14-day quarantine for travelers. The Government of Canada is also extending those measures to protect the health and safety of Canadians. As the science and evidence evolve and knowledge of the virus and variants increases, the policies to keep Canadians safe will evolve as well. Current data shows that Canada's pre-arrival, on-arrival, and post-arrival testing requirements, as well as mandatory hotel stay for air travelers, are working. The Government of Canada's response will continue to prioritize protecting the health and safety of Canadians, while also ensuring the safe flow of goods and services that are necessary for the Canadian economy. Quotes: As the number of COVID-19 cases remain disproportionately high in India and Pakistan, we have extended our flight restrictions and third country pre-departure testing requirements for these countries. These ongoing measures are in place to help protect Canadians and manage the elevated risk of imported cases of COVID-19 and variants of concern into Canada during a time of increasing pressure on our healthcare system. The Honourable Omar Al-Gabra, Minister of Transport. We are extending the testing and quarantine measures at the border because they protect Canadians. As our healthcare system grapples with the third wave of the pandemic, our government will continue to adjust its response to COVID-19. I encourage all Canadians to get vaccinated when it's their turn, and to keep following local public health measures. The Honourable Patty Hajdu, Minister of Health. Throughout the pandemic, we have taken strong action at our borders to protect Canadians while maintaining the flow of essential goods. We will continue to prioritize the health and safety of Canadians as we adapt to the changing reality of the pandemic. The Honourable Bill Blair, Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness. Quick facts. To address unique situations along the Canada-US border, residents of Alaska who transit through Yukon by car to get to another part of Alaska, and residents of Northwest Angle, Minnesota, traveling by car through Canada to mainland US, will be exempt from pre- and post-arrival testing. Travelers must continue to use ArriveCAN to provide COVID-related information, but must enter it within 72 hours prior to their arrival to Canada. In addition, travelers must submit their travel history for the 14 days before entering Canada. This information will help identify and monitor countries with high importation rates of COVID-19 and variants of concern. Positivity rates for those arriving by air, 1.7%, and land, 0.3%, remain very low. The measures have resulted in 96% less air traffic and a 90% drop in non-commercial traffic entering Canada by land, compared to pre-pandemic volumes. All travelers entering Canada must submit their information, including details of their 14-day travel history, electronically using ArriveCAN. This information must be entered into ArriveCAN within 72 hours before a traveler's arrival to Canada to ensure accuracy and to help monitor importation of COVID-19. Violating any quarantine or isolation instructions provided to travelers by a screening officer or quarantine officer when entering Canada is an offence under the Quarantine Act and could lead to serious penalties, including 6 months in prison and or $750,000 in fines. The Government of Canada currently contacts more than 5,500 travelers each day through live agent or interactive automated phone calls, which verify their compliance with the mandatory isolation order. As of May 18, 2021, 97% of the 90,044 interventions by law enforcement have resulted in compliance by travelers. However, in a minority of cases, verbal warnings, written warnings, tickets, and charges have been issued. As of May 20, 2021, there have been 1,577 reported contraventions tickets issued for offenses under the Quarantine Act.